Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Swell Season Podcast is recorded by the Newsstand Studio at Rockefeller Center in the heart of Manhattan and is distributed by the Swell Season Surf Radio Network.
Let the products sell themselves. Fuck advertising, commercial psychology, psychological methods to sell should be destroyed. Because of their own blind involvement in their own conditioned minds. Unit bonded together.
Hello, and welcome to the Swell Season Surf Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Brewer. Our guest needs little introduction, but here we go anyway. He is the proprietor of Pilgrim Surf Supply store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. He is a skilled woodworker, a studied photographer and artist, and an apparel aficionado. He also worked as creative director for Condé Nast Photography Studio. He is also a very stylish regular foot who has mastered the art of passive-aggressive lineup regulation. I could go on with the accolades, but I think I've buttered him up enough. I am, of course, talking about Mr. Chris Gentile. Pilgrim Surf Supply has recently announced their upcoming Shapers Residency program with names such as Malcolm Campbell, Christian Beamish, Rachel Lord, Peter Schroff, Jaleesa Vincent, and many, many other incredible shapers. If you love surfboards, this is probably one of the coolest things happening in the U.S. amongst surf shops right now, and it's definitely worth checking out. And I highly recommend stopping by Pilgrim and just saying hello to Chris. Well, he's been a guest on the show before, but this is probably the first time we've both been sober for it. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tyler. Oh, man, that's, it's true.
You like the passive-aggressive lineup? I have this memory from last summer where we were out and that guy kind of like paddled around you, but you guys kind of went and then you paddled up to him and you're like, did I do something to you? Did I do something to upset you? And the guy's like, no, I didn't mean to. And you're like, well, why'd you do that? And it was like amazing because then you ended up becoming friends with him. Instead of like yelling and barking, I was like, oh, that's what I need to do. I just need to be myself, from like all the stuff my mom has given me. I need to just pass that on into the lineup.
Well, when I surf with you, like my blood pressure goes way down because we tend to like just laugh and have a very good time. But yeah, that's a rare moment for me. Maybe back in the day, I maybe did a little bit more of that. But I don't, it's just when someone's behaving badly and it's actually ruining everybody's time. It's such a buzzkill. I mean, people spend all their energy to get out there and be in the water, and then there's just one fly in the ointment, and it's just not cool. And that's my way of dealing with it now. Just like maybe there's an opportunity to be friends. If it turns into a fight or some frustrating situation, then then everyone's going to suffer. So I don't want any of that. I'm not out there for that. I just want to get a few waves and get back to the grind.
I used the technique after that, and it worked, and it was great. And I ended up becoming friends with the guy. Perfect. It was like
it's way easier to be friendly and kind of cut to the chase and then to like have some stupid battle out there with somebody. It's just,
I love you're just like,
waste
did
of
I
time.
do something to you? Do you not like me? Is there something about me that you're upset? Like, my Jewish self comes out in that, and I want to be like, hey, why would you do this to me? I just want to catch some waves with you,
Well, I'm a recovering Catholic, so I've got all of the techniques that my grandmother used to inflict on me to get me to do what I was supposed to do. So that was one of them.
Let's talk about the residency here real quick, because not real quick. I've wanted to talk about this for a while, but I love this, and it's really fun. I want to know
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Where did the concept come from? How did it start, and how has it evolved since you kind of started doing this?
Well, as you know, Shapers going around the world to build surfboards is nothing new. It's been going on since the dawn of modern surfing. People are going to Hawaii and shaping boards there to charge big waves, in the 50s. And it's nothing that's particularly new about that aspect of it. But what I don't think has been really explored much is this idea of kind of bringing people to a place like New York that's so incredibly rich with culture, with so many different things filtering through it all the time, and letting there be some kind of exchange and interaction between our community here, the board building community that exists in New York, which is thriving and getting bigger, and then these luminary shapers. Some are young, some are absolute legends. Come here and literally have a dialogue with everybody and anyone who wants to be a part of that. It's based more on an artist residency program than it is really something that is solely focused on making people a bunch of money. It's funny because the I had to bring this up because I found it.
Go on.
It made me laugh, but it also was sometimes it's these are opportunities for me to kind of give some information.
Vent.
So
vent.
No, I don't want to vent. Venting was a waste of energy, and maybe I'll vent a little bit, but it's
constructive criticism.
Yeah, negative neural pathways, man. What I try and keep those pathways clean. No, but the only two sort of niches I think in the world that still use message boards are the deadhead community and surf community. But in the surf community, it's the board nerds like us. Those are the only people that use message boards anymore. So there's jam boards, which I think is an amazing, really useful space for people, especially people who are backyard shapers and trying to exchange information, people trying to understand board design better. It's super, super cool. And then there's, the people who like to vent and troll. But somebody posted about the residency in a very nice way, what board would you get? And I don't look at jam boards unless somebody tells me there's something to look at. George, who works for us, is I think a subscriber and pays attention. He's like, oh, it's really cool. Someone mentioned it, and I went on and we looked at it, and somebody on there wrote sales tax plus pilgrim tax equals cost of shipping. So in other words, just order it through the shaper. And I'm like, wow, what's the pilgrim tax?
You mean supporting a small business?
Our incredible 20% markup on a surfboard? I mean, that's. I just laughed. So I just want everyone to know, that's the markup, guys. So it's pretty brutal. And if I had a retail analyst, guru come into my store and look at what we were doing, they would go, "What the fuck are you doing with this massive wall of these hyper, expensive, massive things that like yield barely anything in return?" It's not why we do it. It's obviously like a part of the culture of our brand, and it's what we derive a lot of our inspiration from and get a lot of our direction from. So I thought that was funny. And to the person who wrote that, no, I'm not offended. I just would love you to know that we don't really have a big markup.
Anyone who thinks surf shops are making money off surfboards is kind of clueless, I think.
Yeah, I just don't think they know. I mean, I just really. But the idea really around this was to give people an opportunity also to meet some of these people. I mean, to have Neil Purchase Jr. here is kind of or guys from Australia, Ellis and Jaliza, and these younger guys, Kobe Hughes and Tom Morat, Derek Disney, and then to have Alex Villalobos come out as well. Yeah. It's like an actual board building, kind of program, not just Shapers too. So Tom Morat's a really good glasser. I've seen a bunch of his work, and it's really, really good. So this gives the customer an opportunity to have like a face-to-face with people, which I think is really unique, and dial in a custom order. And I think there's, a hand-shaped surfboard, like any hand-shaped object or handmade thing, in my opinion, it's like the Walter Benjamin Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction essay, where he kind of like talks about this concept of aura, and how objects that are made by hand tend to have that, or that you associate the energy of that person with this thing that you're using to drink your coffee out of, or ride a wave on. So there's something, it's kind of, I mean, it might sound corny, but there is something spiritual about it. There's something else there that I think is really important to preserve. And in my research and in my opinion, when I think about surfboard shaping in the culture and the history of board building, it has all the underpinnings of what we would call a folk tradition. Yeah. And I think that is really unique and uniquely kind of, it's, modern surfing really was started kind of in America. I mean, Hawaii obviously is the motherland, but the tradition of building boards, Australia and here, really where it happened, and it's a master to apprentice relationship, right? Yeah. It's like you don't go to school to learn how to shape a surfboard. You don't go to school to learn how to glass. You got to push a broom around a shop, work your way in, and
put in the time,
and learn from somebody who has also learned from somebody. Yeah. Those templates are amazing. There's like I'd love to do a whole thing on template stories and like how templates went from one person to another person. It's so unique. And it's something that, I'd love to write a thesis on if I could go back to, school, do a PhD. But no, I would never do that. That would be painful. But a book would be nice. I mean, or just a story about, or just an essay about surfboard building as a folk tradition. And it's vernacular design too. Like if you think about how every important sort of movement in surfboard shaping history, it's happened in people's backyards, it's happened in their garage, and it's been by people who, again, are like, sometimes amateurs or are just trying to make something work for the specific wave that they're riding, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the Fish with Steve Liss, the Campbell brothers with the first 3-fin board. Trying to ride, steep waves in Oxnard, like putting those stabilizer fins on. Yeah. Like that's vernacular design by definition. So I just think there's like so many things to kind of like unearth and unbox in surfboard shaping and board building that really still, it just hasn't had, I don't know, like an anthropological or like a focus on it. I mean, maybe it has in ways that I haven't seen, but.
Well, it feels like I remember, and this is funny, but like Surf Tech did this.
Oh well, I have the. Well, so this is
the family tree.
The family tree,
of surfboard shaping.
Which is
describe
really,
it for our listeners here.
Well, it's a perfect thing for you to bring up because one of the special things about this residency program this year is I started having conversations with this fellow named Brock who works with the sunscreen company Sunbum. We were doing an event in the wintertime with Jeff McFretrich and Alex Yoder. And Jeff was doing this project with them called Acid Snow. It's like a sunscreen for people that are like top of mountain, snowboarding and skiing and backcountry. There's a lot of sun in the wintertime.
Yes.
So,
and it reflects off the snow.
Oh man, yeah. So it's it was a cool event, and Brock came out for it, and we hit it off right away. And I was thinking, I've been trying to get like Stanley Toole and Skill and other people to kind of like come in as an underwriting partner to help us just float some of the big expenses of like getting people here and putting them up, which is a lot. Yeah. We couldn't do it just by selling the boards because that 20% margin, sorry to tell you guys, it's like it barely keeps our lights on. So the idea was like, let's find some help and then we can bring more people here. And we can bring them here comfortably, and we can lessen the burden on them that won't cut into their margin, making the board to pay for a flight from Australia. So it just the light went off in my head, and I went, oh man, like they have all these young shapers, shaper surfers on their team. They just signed Jaliza. Wow. So I just kind of like mentioned it to Brock, and then Brock started thinking about it. And next thing I know, like I'm on a call with him and Evan Slater, who's the I believe the marketing director, and
step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now you wanna get mixed up in the family business?
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Had this great chat, and then Evan came out for an event that we did, and he like we just hit it off. Evan is such a special guy, so humble, and like what a legend he is. Like
oh
people,
my god,
yeah,
his early Maverick days.
Oh my god,
he's fucking crazy, dude. Yep. And editor of Surfer magazine
and surfing,
yep. You know, and then Hurley marketing director. Hard Cloud at one point, Blue Torch, all of those.
You know, man. You've done your homework. I didn't know that.
I've studied the guy a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
I followed his career.
He's really cerebral, but also very humble, and apparently, like he surfs in La Jolla every single day. Like no matter what's going on, he's in the water. So. He's super committed and dedicated, but he loved what we were doing and what we were proposing and what I'm talking to you about now. So they said, "Hey, we'd love to contribute." So their generous contribution has really set us up to bring this many people this year. And I know we're going to build like a series on each shaper.
Little podcast too to accompany it, maybe. I don't know, you know,
yeah,
throw that in there, you know,
100%. This is why we do this, and I mean, I always try to like if anyone's coming to town to do anything, I always try to flow them in here.
I love it,
which I mean, I do too because you do a great job of drawing great things out of people. So I'm not able to do that.
Oh shucks.
I don't have these nice microphones in this.
You don't have Joe here.
I don't have this awesome guy Joe. That can just do the friggin' with the rigging, and next thing you know, we're like on the air. No, but the relationship with Sunbum is great because they have a really nice mineral-based sunscreen product that fits perfectly into what we do. It's really good. At their generosity and what we're going to do with building assets from this thing that are, I kind of like want to make them into these little mini docs, like 20, 30 minute long, about the shaper, about them being here and the kinds of things that happen in that exchange I was talking about. So hopefully, we'll get some really like good kind of historical things out of this. And the boards obviously, and that whole process of like the start to finish board and documenting that really well. So. That was a great surprise.
Back to the family tree, though.
Oh, so this is the funny part.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Keeping you on point.
I was searching for it. The gears were spinning. So when Evan came out, we were talking about that. He's like, I was at surfing when that Shaper tree thing came out. I'm like, oh my God, I remember that. He goes, and ironically, it was Surf Tech who paid for it.
I know.
And if, a lot of people probably don't know what Surf Tech is that are like in their 20s, which it was like the first sort of
moldable model pop-out boards that
made in Thailand.
Yeah, and
same factory I think probably as the Slater Designs
Cobra.
and the
Cobra.
Yeah. Oh, Cobra, right?
Yeah,
Cobra.
It's but it was. Some people poo-pooed it. Some people looked at it as retirement fund for many shapers who put in time. You know, like Donald Takayama was Yater, all of those guys.
100%.
Like they were able
Mickey
to retire
Munoz.
comfortably because of that.
Yes.
You know, but it was controversial in some ways that people felt like, oh, it's not being hand shaped or it's not, you know, locally made or whatever argument they wanted to have against it. But dude, they put their money where their mouth was on certain things.
And you know, to be fair, those guys, because the way that the evolution of the surfboard and the fact that, you know, we've all been conditioned to pay a certain price. I mean, there's really not like a good number in it for anybody, and it's hard to do at scale, right? As soon as you turn into a big company as a surfboard building company, then you lose that like niche cred, and then you have to appeal to this bigger market, right? So and all of that's hard. I mean, it's and people think, oh, like, you know, Channel Islands, they're just massive. No, Channel Islands is small, and they're all guys that are still building those things in the United States. There's nothing wrong at all with like that, you know. And it's, you know, it's the people going to Costco to buy the wave storms and that kind of thing. It's just an environmental and social nightmare. Yeah, I think I'm sorry if you. No, I really don't have a lot of love for that stuff.
But the tree that you.
But this surfing family tree was made, and it was like a 4-page, like I think it was like a
4-page
pullout, like a double gatefold.
Yeah.
In the magazine.
A centerfold spread, if you will.
Yes. Yikes. Yeah, I don't think people even know what a centerfold is anymore.
I know. Isn't that sad?
I mean, maybe it's good. But the family, this family tree, this shaping tree is really unique. And it's wild when you start following it around. So Evan, he's like, I'm like, I think I might have that issue. And I went and dug around. I didn't have either one of those surfing issues because they made one like 1 year, and then they made an update to it. I think in maybe 2010 or something like that. So anyway, like Evan goes home. We, you know, about a week later in the mail, he sends me the 2 issues. I'm like, oh man, this guy's too good. That's awesome. We've got it printed and tacked to the wall in the shaping room. And what I want to do is have newer people kind of like add to it. What's cool is that many of the people, like I think maybe half of the people in the residency are on it.
That's amazing.
Just kind of cool. Like Shroff, obviously, and Malcolm, and I think Neil's on it. So anyway, that's exciting. But so,
listeners, if you like, just to mention, like basically what this is like, it starts with like some of the first surfboard shapers, and it just becomes this tree, and you see all these offshoots, and then you have all these disciples of different shapers throughout the years, and then their disciples and their, you know, influences, and some people who may not even have trained under a shaper, but they were influenced by that shaper, even have like certain DNA in their boards. Like San Diego can be traced, you know, like to Skip and you know, a whole crew there, and those boards are made specifically for those waves, and so that kind of then spread, and someone took a little bit of that and mixed a little bit of someone else, like. And
then you can see some of the shapers back in the day, their influence is huge, like Quigg, obviously. Oh gosh, and Simmons, and I mean those two and Matt Kivlin are kind of the architects or the modern surfboard.
They're the root. They're part of the roots, you know, or the base.
Yeah, their contribution, like when combined, are the modern shortboard. You know, it's pretty wild.
It's awesome. I want to ask then, like, have you found then over the last few years, like, the shapers who come here and then surf our waves and ride the boards that they've shaped here, do you feel like the ones that have come back have changed up what they shape for here because of the conditions?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or if it influences them at all, I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had enough time for that to really like take root in a really visible way. I do feel like Tristan Maus, who's a fantastic acid, I feel like Tristan's boards that he made the last time around had a little more volume in the rail, like a little bit more forgiving for beach breaks, because he tends to make these very foiled,
very
displacement
intense.
hull style boards that have they're way more forgiving. They're way more user friendly. Most of his boards have a little down rail and an edge and in the tail. So, but I do feel like his boards have he's been influenced by it.
Yeah,
because
he's come
surfed
now
here
3 times now, right?
This will be the 3rd time.
Yeah.
Yep. He comes in late October, and I'm excited. He's going to bring his family. And Nicholas, who's his glasser, he always comes as well. And Maxime came with him the first time, and Maxime is Beditz. We have Sokotoa surfboards. We have a couple boards of his in the shop. They're all incredible craftsmen and so humble. And there's no beefs, no bravado. Yeah. It's really interesting. I think maybe France, it's maybe kind of the way it is there. There's not like a mean-spirited competitiveness there. It's like very different.
It's because there's social democracy. You know, they got a really good safety net and stuff. You know, they don't have to. It's not so cutthroat as it is in the U.S.
I guess so. Yeah, we need a little bit of that. But yeah, he's been here 3 times, and he's a joy to have here. And he's such a historian. Very well studied, and I mean, he loves art. He loves avant-garde jazz. He loves, to see live performances. He likes to make music. So he gets a lot from New York when he's here. Like he takes the opportunities to get out of the shaping bay, go to the museum. We go to galleries. We go see shows at the Stone. And places that he's gonna get some fuel from.
Is there, do you find, like, you've been in the shaping room with all of them, and I'm wondering, like, do you see, and you know all their personalities, and I wonder, like, do you see any commonality amongst any of the shapers, or any traits that you see as, like, a thoroughfare with them that like, kind of links them at all? Like,
oh, it's interesting. No, what's interesting to what I've observed is that everybody has their own way of approaching the blank, they're like chefs,
Yeah.
Like, everyone, has their way of going about, you give them the same dish to make. They're all going to go at it, slightly differently.
Yeah.
And
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I think that's what's fascinating is like what their technique has become and evolved into. One thing I feel like is a constant that I've noticed in the people who are really proficient is that they do almost all the work with the planer, with the biggest, gnarliest, scariest tool. They get the work 80% of the way there. Sometimes even further.
Wow. In
the case of like Ryan just like, and it's incredible to watch how much the tool is like a part of their body. They have so much command over the tool, and they have such an affinity for the materials. It's like, it's like second nature, but they just put the time in, and it's spectacular to watch, man. I'm like mesmerized by it. So that would be the one thing that I feel like is a constant, is that the planer work is I think, as they all say, the more you do with the planer, the better the shape turns out, and more accurate it is. As soon as you start going at it with sandpaper and and screens,
well, it's the only real constant, right? Like you put hand on there, like your pressure is going to be different.
Yep.
Your hand pressure is going to be different from the front to the tail in some way, and there's going to be an imperfection.
Totally. And I think also every board is slightly imperfect.
Yeah.
It's hand shaped, which is part of the the charm.
Or as I like to call them, perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. Well, you guys had a whole show you did about
does not work.
Does not work. Right? Yep. Which is true. I mean, if it floats, it's going to go.
I think it's like such a cool concept, like what you're doing, and like it's something like as a kid we would have freaked out over, like would have been stoked on, and now it's just awesome to see it. And I'm kind of surprised, like I don't see that more from other surf shops around that are encouraging that, like that to me is like a great way to keep your store relevant almost,
Well, I mean, I think we're really fortunate that my studio is across the street from the shop.
Yeah.
And I was able to build that bay there,
Yeah.
so it's adjacent. It's like having a shaping room on the waterfront in Williamsburg is kind of weird, It's like it's not something that you could probably go and plug in. So we're very lucky to have the opportunity and the facility to do it. And I think it's hard to run a surf shop. It's like, as you know, your parents ran one for how many years?
60
years.
Yeah.
If you're like a mom and pop, kind of core surf shop, it's hard. It's a grind, and it just never ends. And to throw a shaping room in there on top of it would be extra hard. I think we're just in a situation where we have the right elements, and I'm humbled by that. We have a great landlord across the street, our friends that own that building, and they knew I needed a studio, and they offered it to me. And
nice.
So they love that we have this thing going too. So we're fortunate. It's really again about being a part of a community. We've been in that neighborhood for 24 years now, and had a shop there for 17, and we have a lot of great people in our world and around us, and we're lucky. I don't think that could have come about without kind of putting that time in.
Well, I'm curious, like, what have you learned over the past 17 years, like, of running a surf shop? Like, what are some of the lessons you've learned to keep it relevant, right? Because you're in Brooklyn, which is not easy, especially like when you first started, it wasn't easy because there was no one there. And now it's not easy because there are so many people there, and it's hard to keep that authenticity, and I imagine it must be tempting at times to want to sell out or want to like kind of ditch the boards and just focus on clothing or something like that, or even like just ditch the events and all the other stuff and just focus on the apparel side of things, which is probably way more lucrative. And I'm curious, like what have you learned over the years to keep yourself relevant and keep the store afloat, basically? Besides robbing banks.
Yeah, which that's why I have a beard, because if I have to, then I can shave it off and I just kind of blend in.
Exactly.
No, that's a good question. Well, I'll just say, fashion is funny. We're kind of ignored by the fashion industry, and we're kind of ignored by the surf industry, which is great.
Yeah.
Because we kind of do what we are doing. We do our thing, and I don't really pay attention to like any of the sort of make-believe contests that some people feel like they're in. It's just not interesting to me. So, what I've come to figure out is that the in fashion or brands, the brands I tend to get excited about or I'm drawn to, they're designed and they're conceptualized in reaction to culture. Yeah. Some niche part of culture, some subculture. There's engineer garments, for example, is like, Dikey's obsessed with like military and workwear and and the history of those garments and why they were made and what they were made for, and that's kind of how his brand started, right? Yeah. And I love it. He's obsessed. And for us, like that's surfing, and the not just the act of surfing, but like what goes into being a surfer, and the commitment that it takes, and the travel and the exploration and the disappointment, and the discipline and also like the board building part of it, which is craft. So we make clothes that have a high degree of craft in the materials that we use and the construction. That's a very important part of our process and our company, our brand. And the surfboards, in my opinion, are just a direct reflection of that, and that's a huge point of inspiration for me personally. I've learned to like stay the course. I mean, surfing's really not cool right now. And it's funny because like 10 years ago, you would go up and down Madison Avenue, and in every single luxury brand's window, there'd be like a branded surfboard, you know, a gold surfboard with Chanel, C's on it. There'd be the board in Louis Vuitton. It was cool. Like it was fashion. It was fashionable. It was cool to be a surfer. Now it's moved on to running or something. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's shifted, which it does, and it always happens. It's happened to skateboarding. It's happened to surfing many times. Yeah. And it's great. Yeah. It's like, okay, like now we're kind of like, we're in the shadows a little bit, and it's good. I enjoy being there. And it's not like our sales have slumped or anything like that. It's more about us just kind of staying the course, doing what we're doing, and being relevant and being there for the people who are actual surfers.
Well, it's interesting, like your clothing, which is beautiful, and you can tell it's extremely well built and will last a long time. I mean, shoots, I even have T-shirts from you that, from like 17 years ago.
That's cool. I want to see those.
I mean, they don't fit me as well, but I still got them. But
you're getting trimmed out.
Well, thank you.
I saw those kettlebell thrusters you were doing.
Oh yeah,
full squat. That's pretty impressive.
Got to give Lois credit on that one. But it's interesting. Like your clothing, though, if you were to look at it, wouldn't be like, oh, that's a surf brand either. Like it's something that I find to be relatable to a wide range of people. Like anyone could wear it. Right. It's not like a surfer uniform that I think we grew up with, right? Like it was all Billabong Quicksilver logo, and in the 2000s it was a stretch board short and whatnot. Like it's something like I feel like what you've done is you remain true to who you are and what your vision is of surfing, because there are influences of surfing in it. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying it's not.
It's not obvious.
Yeah, it's not, but it for the discerning eye, it is, right? Like one can see like the 60s influence of like in the women's clothing and some of the bikinis or bathing suits you've carried in over the years, or the workwear that Shapers probably would wear, back then and they wear now. Like it's, you pull from all these different places. And I was curious, like, what are you pulling from for influence? Like every season must be really difficult. And I'm curious, like, where do you go to restore that creativity and that energy and influence?
Well, I mean, I always joke that you don't wear clothes when you're surfing, right? So you're not making clothes for surfing.
Exactly.
What are you making it for? And I don't really think that like our brand is limited just to like as you said, to like the surfer. Yeah. I mean, if we were, it'd be a pretty tough place to be, in Brooklyn, New York. So. Our inspiration I draw a lot of inspiration from the outdoor world. I mean, we got coined as being like one of the epicenters of Gorpcore, whatever that, the back in the day. I mean, I think that's so funny, the Gorpcore. It's such a funny, the Gorp is such a funny word. I remember like trying to remember what it's
Gore-Tex pull.
No, it stands for granola, raisins. Oh, God damn. I mean, I wish we had
granola, outdoor raisins.
No, it's like basically like, like you're a crunchy granola hiking person that wears outdoor gear. Yeah. But there's so much about that world and those designs, and so much about workwear, and also military. Although we try not to draw too much from that, because I don't know. I feel two ways about it. It's like feels kind of weird to.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm wearing a Baker pant right now, which is like the Vietnam era fatigue that my father wore when he was in Vietnam. There's a subversiveness to wearing it.
Yeah,
to wearing military,
of course,
like what the beatniks did in the
exactly.
they were wearing the fishtail parkas with all the Sharpie like peace signs and poetry written on them, and then you have like the guys that wear all the stuff to like play cosplay military guy.
Yeah,
that's terrifying. But this the utility of those garments, and also the looseness of the fit and the fabrics that are really burly. It's relevant. I mean, to the kinds of things I'm involved with, and I think a lot of people that live in the city. I mean, I always joke that like outdoor gear and that kind of gear, it's more relevant to us as city dwellers than it is to someone that lives in suburban America, because we're like schlepping 40-pound bags of shit around with us up and down the grossest subway stairs in the worst weather. There we go. Good old raisins and peanuts. That's what GORP stands for. Thank you, Joe. Joe, man, the researcher on premises researcher.
Are you the new Jamie from like Joe Rogan or whatever?
That's amazing. What was the Howard Stern woman's name? Oh God. Shit. Why can't I remember? She's so good.
Damn,
I can't.
Marsha? No.
Oh, damn it.
Robin. Yes.
She's still. They're still doing their thing. I don't listen to it, but I've seen it, and I'm like, wow, she's still. They're still there busting each other up. Anyway, where was I?
We were talking about outdoor influence.
Yeah, the outdoor influence and all that stuff comes into play. And at the end of the day, like most men's brands are just riffing off of classic American casual wear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. A button-down shirt, a pair of plain front slacks, it's not rocket science, but where the nuances and where the subtleties are in the fabrics and in the fits and in the construction. And then there's some people that are designing some really interesting stuff too. It's like, borderline avant-garde. We have a little bit of that, but the majority of what people are going to wear hasn't dramatically changed.
No,
it's the subtle shifts in fit, really, and fabric and color and then footwear trends. There are all sorts of things. But it's like being in New York and being around all these interesting people and having really interesting employees, young employees that are really smart and have a really strong sense of personal style and are interested in like other things outside of surfing, like art and design and music. Their energy is something that I need. I draw off of them and get influenced by them.
I've noticed that, and like I was curious, like what is your hiring process like? Because from experience for me working, running, managing my family retail, like it was the hardest thing was finding good people to work and reliable people. And obviously being on Long Island, I think is different than being in New York City. Your talent pool is different, but it was fucking hard. It was really hard to find good people. It would be like 20% of them would be good and the rest would be kind of middling and not really excitable. And when I come into your store, always greeted really nicely, even if they don't know who I am, and I don't go in there and be like, do you know who I am?
You should.
The only time I do that is if I have to go to the bathroom, and then I'm like, dude, Chris said I could use the bathroom. It's fine. But like,
that is fair.
But they're great. You have every year, it's always someone who's really smart, really knowledgeable, or at least hungry for that knowledge. They're respectful, but also they're all like, when you get to talk to them, like they're all really interested in something creative or doing something unique as well outside of their job. And they all go on to do incredible. You have like, I don't know if you ever look back at your past employees and then see where they are now and look on a little bit with pride.
Oh, I mean, it makes me really happy to see. I mean, I get like a buzz out of seeing people just climb and chase their passions and actually, arrive.
Yeah.
There's nothing greater than that. And I mean, I think in the case of everybody that's worked for us, I mean, I might be like a small little step for them, or I might have given them a little boost here and there, but it's all them. They've done it. In fact, in a lot of cases, I feel like I've gotten more from them than they've gotten from me in a lot of instances. A lot of people I feel that way about. I get really happy when I think about all those relationships that we've cultivated with these young people that have come through the store, and they're still our friends, and some of them we still do projects with, and they still come back to see us. And I know when we hire these, we're lucky. I feel like we're fortunate, I should say, because yes, we are in New York City. We're our influences and the things that we're engaged in are, range from surfing to fashion to art, design, music is a big part of our world. So there's a lot of different things that people come to us being, in terms of being attracted to us and wanting to work for us. There's you could be like a combo platter of, 2 or 3 or all of those things. And what's happened now is that those people have friends that they're like, hey, if we're looking to hire, it's like word of mouth. We'll put it out there every now and then that we're looking to hire, and we'll get a lot of applicants. And it's hard sometimes because you just, it's hard. You can't give people a personality test. You have to kind of feel them out. And, there's only been a few people in the 17 years of having a business in Williamsburg and having our business that we've had a people who are a problem.
Yeah, Mike Matchmer. We're talking about you.
Yeah, Mike is he's the
It's our good friend, listeners.
No. Mike is actually Mike has so much of himself in our business still to this day. He probably doesn't even realize it.
The DNA is definitely
man. He's
parts
such
of it.
Such an important person, and he's one of the most important people in the surf community that people don't know.
Yeah. He's in the shadows.
He is, but he's the stuff he's contributed and still contributes is, it's really special. Mike's awesome. We could have a whole episode about Mike, and we should have Mike on here
one day. One day we'll get him from downtown here. Get him from uptown down here.
Trying to come back to your thing. So I'll just say this. Our employees are everything.
Yeah.
You can have the coolest store, the coolest build out, the best stereo, the coolest records, and the coolest brands, and the coolest surfboards, and have you can have all of the trimmings. You can have all the ingredients of something that could be good. And if the people there aren't good, you can just light it all on fire. Yeah. Literally. They are the ones that make people feel connected, welcomed, and comfortable. Yeah. And as we were growing up, when you walked into a skate or surf shop, you were vibed to the second you stepped in the door, and it's fucking hilarious. And when you're a kid, that's almost like a rite of passage, right? And that I kind of like it in that space. Yeah. But not when you're a fucking adult, No. I'm sorry. But when you go into a store and people act like they're too good. They're too good to be there. Yeah, and you're bothering them. I don't understand that. I don't see those places lasting. But we really are conscious of that. People that we hire have to have a personality that we feel like is going to be that welcoming and also they're going to get along with everybody else on the team because when we've had a few instances of that where there's somebody who brings a level of negativity and drama into the mix and then it starts to poison the well. You got to cut that out immediately. That's what I've learned.
Well, curious then, your management style must have really evolved as well.
You could talk to some of my employees.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you it feels like now, or over however many years, a lot of your employees have certain skill sets and you almost let them run loose on certain projects, or do certain things that they're good at. Chelsea Slater is a really good example of a former employee of yours who I feel like you kind of just gave her certain opportunities to go run wild with certain things at Pilgrim and produce some amazing content and marketing and branding, and also gave her like incredible experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I could have Chelsea back. If I could have Chelsea,
if you could afford
if
her.
I could have had her all these years, but she and her husband Sebastian are doing incredible things.
Yeah.
They have their own production company. They make films together. They make they're guns for hire, like a cameraman and a producer, like director. They're incredible. And I mean, Chelsea's a great example. Chelsea was a part of the first kind of like studio that we had.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, she's just become a good friend, and Sebastian too. I mean, then I hired them when we started making our surf film. Like when we made Self Discovery. We hired them, Sebastian to be the DP, and Chelsea was producer. Yeah, that was it's awesome. And I've hired them since to do a bunch of different stuff for us.
But your style of management, then, like, where did that come from? Because it's definitely changed, from kind of a little bit more hands off, with mollusk days, and then like now it seems like almost this encouraging figure. It feels like, it feels like from the outside looking in, it looks like you're not doing a lot to manage them. Like they're just doing what they need to do. Like I very rarely see you like directing and telling people to do things. Like they just kind of intuitively do it. And I'm just curious, like how you get employees to do that.
We have very smart people working for us. So, it's like you give them direction and they do it. I feel like when you micromanage people and you're like hovering over people, it just doesn't work. It makes everybody like uneasy and edgy, and it kind of ruins the environment. Like if they're having fun and they're in a good space, then that energy's filling the room, right? So I don't think like micromanaging is good, and I also don't like being a boss man. I really hate when I get put in a position where I feel like I have to like
be a boss
and discipline somebody. And it rarely happens. I mean, I can't even tell you when the last time it was that it happened. I don't have to talk to people like that. It doesn't work. Yeah. It just doesn't work. Nobody wants to be talked to like that. I don't want to be talked to like that. So, I know they're not my friends. They're not supposed to be my friends. Yeah. Which, we spend a lot of time together. They are my friends, but I think we have a nice relationship where, I sometimes get a little too attached to people, and I know they're all going to eventually go. Yeah, that's New York. I mean, no one's here to have a career as a retail associate. But then we have other people in our studio, in our office. That are usually around for longer. So, as we grow very slowly, I'm trying to help grow those people too. I mean, I think that's the idea.
Your wife works with you too.
Yep.
How is that? Like, because I don't know, my wife is like, I can't wait to come start working for you at your company. And I'm just like, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a whole podcast or a slew of podcasts about couples that work together, or don't anymore. But yeah, it takes a lot of discipline. And we try to set up some parameters and some rules around like when we talk about the shop, when we talk about the business, when we talk about employees, so that we don't just let our lives just get consumed by it. And we also like, I'm not sitting at a desk all day long. Like I'm doing other things. I still work in my studio. I'm going on buying meetings. I'm going, I'm traveling for work as well. And Erin is, She's an incredibly intelligent person and also incredibly empathetic person. She has a master's of public administration from one of the best MPA schools in the country at University of North Carolina
That
in
might
Chapel
help.
Hill. So she worked for the city. She worked for one of the largest nonprofits in New York before deciding to like build Pilgrim and to be a part of Pilgrim. So, her skill sets in managing style and interpersonal communication is incredible. So, where I'm like kind of all over the place, and she can distill things and focus things when it comes to our employees, when it comes to accounts and different things, and really, I think we balance each other out really well in that regard. She can do things that I cannot. She's our fiscal person. She's really good at managing, the business. And I'm on the creative side. So
how was that decision when she committed to coming to work and to build Pilgrim with you? I'm curious, like what that looked like and how that evolved. Actually, if you don't mind me asking that, I hope you don't mind me getting personal here.
No. Well, we had we were having our second kid right when we started Pilgrim.
Yeah.
It was. She was working for this this big nonprofit, and had a very important job there. She had to go into the city 5 days a week, 40-hour a week. She was going to get some time, like some leave. And when we opened Pilgrim, it started to build this momentum, and we started making clothes in the garment district. We had some legs, and she was. She was about to have our guy Cal, and we just were like, okay, we gotta, what are we gonna do with Pilgrim? It's like it's kind of moving, and I thought like she was like, maybe I can just work on the shop, and we were just like, this would be a dream. You won't have to leave the neighborhood. Childcare would be easy because we'll be right here. There's all these things that just kind of like started making sense about her working at the business, and I mean, it felt like she was fully committed to it. I thought she's going to do this for a little while and be like, no, I got to get back to public service. I can't.
You're insufferable. I can't do this.
No, or just like I thought, she's just going to be like, this is just
too easy.
It's easy, and also it's retail, and it's not very stimulating, maybe, or it's not like, it's not doing things for people. Other people, the people that need services, that need things. Like that's where she's really committed. Like she's, she was in AmeriCorps. Erin's a badass. So seriously, she's not motivated by being rich. She's not motivated by being popular. She's not. She's very behind the scenes. But at the same time, we were, it was like, okay, we're having our second kid. Like, to build this business and make it something special and do it, ethically, and like socially and environmentally sensitive, in our pursuit of making clothes and things, the brands that we bring in, like this could be really good. So I thought it was going to be, temporary or maybe a few years, but she's as much a part of it as I am. We're partners in it. So
how has Pilgrim evolved from what your original vision is to where it is now? How big a difference would you say it is?
That's a good question.
I'm full of them.
Well, one thing that was what I never saw coming when we first opened was this interest that we got almost immediately from Japan.
Yeah.
That was wild. And I had known about that landscape a little bit, but I didn't know about it with expert kind of knowledge. I just knew it from surface knowledge. And when we started getting bites, or people were coming and handing me business cards and introducing themselves and wanting to bring me to Japan and go on these trips, fly me around, and I was just like, whoa, what is going on here? So I never saw that coming, and the good thing is, like, while that was happening, I was meeting different groups of people, and I met our now director in Japan, Taka Izumi, who's now become like family to me.
Yeah.
And he he and this group of guys from Beams were the first guys that I met there. I was like, oh man, these guys feel like I've known them for a long time, and like they're funny and they're into weird shit and they understand what we're doing. They're interested in doing something with us. So I never expected that or thought about it. It wasn't even on my radar or an expectation or a dream or anything, just to have a business in Japan or have a partner in Japan. So that would be the one thing that I think was unexpected, and also like been a really big part of our brand and a big part of like me evolving too. It's like having to grow a relationship with like an international partner. I didn't go to business school. I'm a visual artist, man.
Yeah.
You know, I went to grad school and for sculpture and photography. You know, I'm not like a business person per se. But what I learned is that relationships are everything.
Yeah.
They're everything. And having good relationships with people and having open communication with people is essential. And the two things that fuck up everything. And I think in every aspect of life, sadly, is poor communication and money.
Yeah. It definitely gets in the way a lot of the time.
And if it's the reality is, if you're having a money problem and you have good communication, usually the money problem can get solved pretty easily. Yeah. It's just the lack of communication, and it's you learn that. It's like it's interesting. So, and now like before you were talking about like all the events and all these things that are a part of what we do. It's what makes our brand relevant. I mean, if we were just making clothes, I don't think people would care. I mean, there's a lot of places to get clothes, but if you don't have a source or a focal point for where you're getting your inspiration from, then like what is it?
Well, it seems like such a thing that the surf industry kind of has abandoned. And I know you're not.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You're very, very far adjacent to the surf industry, I would say, but I imagine you do keep tabs at certain points.
It's kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
More surfers than ever before, but somehow the industry just has disappeared in some ways.
I don't think the industry grew up with the customer, and I don't think I think the customer's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of people that feel like they need to walk around with like wearing "I'm a surfer" on their sleeve. I mean, it's just different now.
It got co-opted, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
I would say like private equity particularly, and also going public, those two things.
Dangerous. Yeah.
They were...
Too big.
You got to see this.
Oh, yeah.
You got to see this firsthand with your consulting with Quicksilver,
Yeah, it was really disheartening. And disenchanting too.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt so badly for a lot of those guys. I mean, they dedicated their lives to these brands, but it was also like there were just it was just getting too big, and people were getting hired because they were ex-pros, and like you're ex-pro getting hired to be a creative director or a marketing director with no college education, no experience doing that, just because they were cool and they had a nice personality, and they were kind of done being a pro, and they had nothing else to do. And you get like 20 of those people that and all of a sudden when you start to hit rocky rocky water then it's like that they don't know what to do.
It's a great case against nepotism, like that really. I think that's what kind of messed up the sport in some ways, was the fact that it was so nepotistic that. Someone left Quicksilver, they would go to Billabong, and then it was like this became so much incestual.
It's just insulated. Totally, it's a bubble.
Yeah.
And then I feel like maybe I'm speaking like I know what I'm talking about.
Look, this is from outsider perspectives, but I do
feel like it was kind of a bubble, and a lot of those guys didn't get out enough to kind of see to see it from the outside perspective, they were just in it all the time, like being a painter and working on a big canvas and only staying a foot away from it for like the whole entire time you're painting it, and then when you step back, you realize that your proportions and everything is way off, and you're like, fuck, it feels like something like that. Like it was just and a little too late too, like to course correct. But now in some ways, I feel like there's a lot of smaller brands, and there's a lot of space for more independent people to kind of come up and do what they were doing, which all those brands were when we were kids. They were small brands, and they were cool because they came from within the culture,
and you could only get them at a surf shop.
Correct.
And that's, to me, like where why the industry has fallen apart is because they did not support the surf shops. Because I remember working in my dad's shop and reading, Quicksilver's got a vending machine now at the Standard, or they're going to sell direct to customers and they're going to undercut you. And it was just like, we got this at TJX, or TJ Maxx or whatever, it was just, this is not special anymore. People can get this anywhere.
Yeah,
why would they come to the surf shop? And then
they
basically, in effect, killed the surf shop to a certain extent.
The surf shops, I mean, the amount of mom and pops that used to be in California now, and you drive up and down the coast and looking for a mom and pop shop, and they barely exist. I mean, there's only a few. I mean, you have some legendary spots still. You still have like you have Frog House, which is fucking amazing. Of course. And you have there's
Jacks and
those Jacks and HSS are huge.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
massive.
I mean, they're massive. But
or Mitch's or whatever.
Mitch's
that's
is
been around.
amazing, of course. You can't. I mean, Hanson's is still amazing. Thalia Street's still there. Mollusk. There's some like ones that I call it like the surf shop renaissance. Like some of the others like Daydream. I mean, there's some great little stores that are kind of coming back, and I see those places having a lot of opportunity right now to be the landing pad for all these small little niche surf brands that are starting to pop up, but we're not really not for surf shops.
No,
like our brand,
exactly.
like it's usually a little bit, we price that customer out because they're kind of used to paying a certain amount for things. But what I'm more interested in, it's not about making expensive things. It's about making valuable things.
Things that last.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, what's your cost per wear?
Yeah.
Right. The pair of pants I'm wearing, I'm like joke that like, these are like 25 cents a wear at this point, or less,
That's a great way to kind of break it down for people though, to understand, right? Like when I get like a mixer or something for a mocktail or something, it tells you like how many servings are in that, right? Like it would be great if your clothing could tell you how many
average wears.
Yeah,
I mean, it is the problem. I mean, it's just we've created really bad consumer behavior. Yeah, I mean, really bad, and it's across a lot of different categories, and it's I don't want to participate in that. That's not who we are. I sometimes get defensive with people when they say, "Oh, your shit's so expensive." I'm like, I'm like, it's not expensive, it's valuable. It's like it's the only way I can defend it in the way that like if you buy something from us, it's gonna last. I mean, and if it doesn't, we'll deal with it. Like 100%. We follow the model of a lot of great brands that have come before us that do the same. But I think buying better and buying less is kind of going to have to be one of the things that people adopt if we're going to be able to continue to live on this rock.
Now, big question here. What's the difference between Pilgrim and Mollusk from when you started Mollusk? So listeners, if you're not familiar, originally Chris started in 2007, right?
Yep.
Mollusk Surf Shop on River Street in Williamsburg. And that was like the coolest thing ever. Not saying Pilgrim isn't, but it evolved into something else. And a few years later, then you started Pilgrim. Basically continuing what you had started. I'm curious, like, what you see are the differences between the two.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, there's some obvious things that are that are similar. The surfboards being like the thing that kind of connects us. I mean, I still love those guys, and there's no bad blood, and they're doing great, and it makes me really happy to see that it's still alive and thriving.
Yeah.
But I think the West Coast and the East Coast are really different places. And I had a real passion for building clothes. I wanted to build a collection. And I think, John McCambridge, was our partner at Mollusk, he wanted to do the same, but we had different ideas.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. That's what happens with partners. Yeah. And he wanted to do things a certain way. I wanted to do things a certain way. And they weren't really aligned. And it wasn't like we had a bad blowout or anything. It's like, you know what, man, like you should just do your thing. I'm going to do what I'm trying to do. And, let's just do it independently. Good luck. And good luck. High five. Boom. It was kind of, that's not exactly what happened, but that's kind of what happened. It was pretty nice,
amicable,
clean breakup.
Yeah.
I don't talk to John. I should reach out to him more. But I know people that have worked there, and I keep up with them just kind of vicariously, and it's like everything from where I sit. They look like they're doing great, and they have like Trevor Gordon doing stuff with them, and in Santa Barbara, they've got cool people, and they're a custodian of the culture too. They're really important.
But the two, there was a difference. Oh,
there's a difference. Yeah, between the East Coast and the West Coast.
Well, not only that, just what Mollusk was when you started it in those first few years, it was mostly hard goods.
Yep, it was all surfboards and
some T-shirts, and that was it. And
DVDs.
But oh my God, it was
surf DVDs.
Oh my God, how many surf DVDs did you sell? And how many do you sell now?
You sell 0 now. How many blockbusters are there now?
I know.
Right? But that was, we were like a core hard goods shop, but selling really niche boards. Like you sent me that photo today, and I was like, oh my God, we had that choice Pavel on the racks, because he sent us a whole batch that we didn't even order, and had people calling the shop, freaking out, threatening, like, I can't believe it. I've had a board on order for 4 years from Rich, and you guys haven't even been open for 4 years. How the fuck did you get those boards? There's some funny characters, and for those who don't know, the Rich Pavel is.
Well, what was the response you were expecting when you opened Mollusk? Because the idea, I remember our mutual friend Mike Matchmer had approached me at the time. It was like, hey, you should talk to Chris. You guys should partner up on a surf shop or something. And I remember talking to my dad about it. I'm like, oh, what do you think of opening a surf shop in Brooklyn? And he's like, oh, that won't work.
What a stupid idea.
Yeah, he thought, he was like, that's ridiculous,
Smart man.
But it was, but what was amazing is what you built it and people came, and it really became an epicenter, I would say, of New York City surfing and New York surfing in a sense. It was a place where a lot of people met and a lot of collaborations grew out of it. A lot of things came from it. And I was just curious, what was your initial expectation, and what were you pleasantly surprised about when it did launch and the response to it?
Yeah, that was shocking when we opened.
How did you pitch it to Erin, even your wife? How did you? I'm curious. Where did that come from? Why did you want to start a surf shop, and why? What were you seeing that everyone else wasn't?
Well, when I moved here, I was pursuing my career as a visual artist. So at that time, I had a gallery I was showing with in Chelsea, Jeff Bailey, who's the best. And I was working at Condé Nast.
Yes.
And, I was the creative director. I hate the word creative director, cracks me up. I'm the creative director of my breakfast. Creative director of the photo studios. Working with my friend Jeffrey, and it was a really busy time. It was a transition from the film to digital, that era.
Yeah.
So we were, we had our hands full, and it was exciting. But I was on a contract, so I worked 10 days a month for them. And then I worked the rest of the time in my studio, which was in the corner of the building known as Monster Island at River and Metropolitan Avenue, which is now a Trader Joe's. Yeah. But the building's gone. But my studio was on the back corner of it, and downstairs were Rachel and Eric, who had Secret Project Robot, which is like an experimental art space gallery. They did performances, everything. It was so incredible. Awesome. And then in front of them was another space very similar called Live with Animals. And upstairs there was K-Rock and Wolfie screen printing, and Maya Hayek and Brady Dollarhide. And it was just this hive of activity and artists. And then in the basement were Oneida. They had their recording studio and their rehearsal space. And then Todd P. had the rehearsal spaces up front. Anyway, long story short, they had a little space below me that they wanted to rent me for storage, Rachel and Eric. And they approached me about it. And I had this idea of opening a shop because we didn't have a real core hard goods shop in the city proper. You had to go to Rockaway or Long Beach to get booties, gloves. And I had
maybe Pipe Dreams, which
it might have like 2 size 8 booties.
Yeah, exactly.
But
2 size 8 left booties.
Left booties. Those, not to harp on them. They were cool. I mean, they did their best.
No, but it's hard.
But the 2 left booties. I think I've sent some people out of the shop with 2 left booties accidentally. I'm sorry to those people.
I've done that to ski boots by accident.
Jesus.
Oh, I ruined a few people's trips.
Jesus. Oh man, that's worse. But I do think the thing that sparked all of this was the time that I left my fucking boots on the roof of my car after changing out of my wetsuit and drove off, and the waves were pumping the next day, and I was going to go out for another session, and I couldn't find my boots. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember I left them on the roof. And I kind of backtracked in my mind, and I could not get another pair of booties to go surf in the morning early before I had to work because there was no surf shop.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Nowhere in New York City except for Rockaway. Rockaway's New York City.
Or the dive shop in Chelsea.
No, there's nowhere. I could not buy a pair of booties.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, like we need a surf shop. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool? I was ordering like Tyler Hadzikians and Pavels and stuff at that time. I got into that whole world, through being introduced to a lot of it by Andrew Kidman and Thomas Campbell's movies, that were really influential. Those 2 movies in like mid '90s. So I wanted to bring that to New York because those were my people. I'm like, Barry McGee was in that movie. I was like, holy shit! I didn't know that this world of like creative people existed in surfing. And it was like the first time I got to see that. So I'm like, I want to make a shop that can kind of support that community. I bet you it's here. And if it's not, there are surfers here that are going to need booties and wax and ding repair.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they offered that space to me. I asked Aaron. I actually had another space before that I was going to take, which was next to Cafe Mogador.
Oh, wow.
When my friend Shayna had this like shop called In God We Trust. And she was going to move. And she's like, and I told her about my idea. She's like, you should do it. And at that time in Williamsburg, it was still very DIY kind of like culture.
They just let you do whatever you want at that time,
totally. No permits, nothing. And people were opening up little coffee shops and little boutiques and stuff everywhere. And it was like magical. So I thought, why not have a little fucking surf shop in the mix? And I can still work, and it can just be open, in the evenings, or I can hire a couple people to run it during the day. And so anyway, long story short, that fell through, and then my downstairs neighbors offered us the space. That's awesome. And I was like, could I get a little bit more room and put bust a door through and bust windows out? And they're like, yeah, I want to make a little surf shop. And I still have the note that Rachel wrote me. Yeah, because we talked about it, and then like a week later, she taped a note to my studio door that said, "Hey, you still want to open up your surf shop? Like we're totally down for you to take a little bit more of our space to make it bigger."
Wow.
Because it was only going to be half that size at first, which would be nothing.
Would have been tight.
So we did it, and Brady and Jay Nelson, myself, Tyler Manson. Oh, and to backtrack, I had a gallery I was showing with in San Francisco, Gregory Lynn Gallery, and I went out for an opening, and that's when I met John, and Mollusk had just opened that year.
Nice.
and Manny Caro was making me some boards, and he was shaping in the back. So that's how I met them. And John was like, yeah, why don't we do it together? And I thought, well, this could be perfect because he's got accounts set up. He's got, he's already got a back end.
Plug and play.
So that was helpful in kind of getting it off the ground.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be there every day, even though I would check in and my studio was right there. But Mike had just lost his job.
Yeah,
Mike Matchmer managed it. He ran it. And he was the one who... He lost his research job. He was working on a research grant, and that grant was over. And he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do in between. And I was like, dude, you want to work at the run the shop? And he's like, yeah, that sounds fun. And he did for years.
Dutchy.
And that's when he started the blog, which we can't talk about because we'd be here for another 5 hours.
That's another episode for sure.
The Shipworm and Gribble blog is legendary, and we're talking about working on a little book project with that. But yeah, I mean that's how it happened. It took on its own life, man. Like the people around it are what made it what it became. Ultimately, that's part of the foundation of what we have with Pilgrim, and it's humbling.
Dude, I just remember the opening party. Like, I was working at Red Bull at the time, and I remember I was like, oh, I'll supply a Red Bull. And I basically was like the bartender pouring Red Bull and vodkas for everyone. And just like, it was packed. It was crazy. And then like projecting on those oil tankers, like the oil storage tanks that were there on the water, which is, when you look back now, you think there was oil. There was this rotting, rusted oil storage tank right on the East River.
Yeah, it was strange. I mean, we basically had our own drive-in theater, right? I mean, it was
amazing.
And the cops left us alone as long as whatever beverage we were drinking was in a cup and they didn't know what it was. They had no problem with us like spilling 400 people out onto a street with PAs. I mean, there's no one around to piss off.
No.
Noise wasn't an issue.
Exactly.
It was really different. But what I didn't realize is how many surfers there were in New York.
Right.
That's shocked me.
Me too.
And when we opened, it just like people started coming out of the woodwork. I heard about this, and then the surf industry guys would start to come through, and then like the Japanese surf people and fashion people, everyone wanted to see this little weird niche of a shop in this post-industrial wasteland, which is now like some of the most expensive real estate in New York City.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's so nuts. And like, I mean, there's just so many stories like that from those evenings, and all like just random people, celebrities and surfers, like
hanging out with Molly Shannon and Fritz eating hot dogs, like in the
or fucking Tom
pups.
Kern just randomly showing up at like 10:30, to play a set, while watching
Naughty by Nature shooting a video across the street, and then the hard body sign and there's a lot to unpack there. It was but I think the spirit of that and what I learned from that is that when we do events, there's never an expectation of making money. Ever. No. Like, in fact, it's like we're not making money. Yeah. This isn't what this is for. This is to like bring people together and have a good moment, and people can talk about this, for years. So that came from those days at Mollusk at River Street. That was just seeing what bringing people together that have a common interest. To like watch like an obscure surf film together, or to listen to Richard Tognetti, this virtuoso violinist and surfer. That's the director of the Sydney Symphony, plays violin with two other members of the Sydney Symphony in our little tiny space. Yeah. Like what the hell? Like how did that happen? Or to like have. Just Derek Hind and
crazy, man. Bill Finnegan, come on.
That's later at Pilgrim, but it was the foundation of like being committed to this thing, this community and this culture. But it's really like it's the people surrounding it, Tyler, that and like yourself and Mike and all these other people that have contributed to making it what it is. Like I'm just like I'm like a I'm like the bus driver, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm just driving the bus, but the people on the people on the bus are what is really important, you know. I don't know. It's such a stupid analogy.
No,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's like
That's a dumb metaphor.
no, but it's great. And like what I think is interesting, what I always find interesting, as I'm getting older, as we get older, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same in some ways. Like there's still a lot of younger surfers who come into the city and kind of have that same energy we had at that time. And some are DIYing it, some are doing other things, but they're all like craving that community. And it feels nice that Pilgrim is still like, you know, and you are still that place that many of us in the city can still gather. Like it's harder to get all the surfers in New York in one place like we used to be able to. Yeah. There's just so many more of us. And there's social media, and there's so many like niche groups now. Like it doesn't come together. Like when we were doing that in Mollusk back in 2007, 2008, it was the focal point. Like all surfers in New York City went there. You know?
If you surfed, if you're like a Brohammer shortboarder,
didn't matter.
If you just learned to surf a year ago and you're riding a longboard only, like it was kind of everybody. I mean, I still feel like it is that way too. But
it's harder to get everyone though.
Yeah,
like, it's
I
harder.
agree. It's bigger, as you said, and which is cool, you know. And I think that like for us, like we just want to stay open for all of that.
Yeah,
you know, we want to be open to all of it. You know, new people will come to it and start their thing, and that'll be cool too. You know, I think there's lots. Look at all the people making surfboards in New York now.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely wild. And I don't know. I never would have imagined that. 20 years ago. You know?
Well, I never would have imagined. You know, New York surfing would be taken seriously by a lot of people, and obviously the growth has definitely surpassed what I thought it would ever get to. But it's exciting and it's cool. You know, it was interesting, like talking to Sam George, you know, the other week, having him on, like, I really appreciated his attitude towards surfing in the sense that he was very much for everyone surfing and how everyone is and how surfing's evolved, you know, and he said, surfing's going to do what it wants to do.
Absolutely.
You know, and we're just along for the ride almost.
Yeah, I mean, I catch myself glorifying the past. Like, I remember when we used to surf down here, and there's no only, you know, like, no. I mean, like, now is now.
Yeah.
You know, and getting nostalgic is, I mean, nostalgia's poison. You know, in reality. So, we have to like just deal with the fact that there's more people in the water. But if you approach that with a little bit of joy, if you bring that energy into the water, good energy, it's like it's fine. I mean, you'll get what you need.
I very rarely have bad sessions when it comes to people and stuff, and I just, you know, I think it's because we go out with a more
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
open, accepting mindset as opposed to...
You're also a giant, Tyler. And no
well,
one's
that is true.
fuck with you.
That is true. I definitely, I am lucky in that way.
Yeah. I'm the guy.
But also because I have like the biggest, dumbest smile on that it's like hard to get angry.
It's infectious when you're in the water. You're definitely a stabilizing force, which is needed. But that's kind of like where I hope we can be that too. I mean, that's what I want Pilgrim to be. That's what I want to do. I mean, sometimes you'll go out in the lineup and there'll be somebody who's just an insufferable human being and they're just like treating everyone terribly. And it's like takes everything in me to just not be like, fuck you. And I'm like, I can't do that.
I know, especially as a shop owner too.
That's a bad example. So yeah, but it's rare. I feel like those salty, kind of prickly pears are fewer and fewer. Thankfully.
Yeah. One of the last things I want to just discuss briefly is you've started shaping some boards. I didn't say you're a shaper.
No,
but you
I
started
wouldn't do that.
shaping some boards, and I'm curious, like what you've picked up doing it in terms of like an artist, having an artist kind of mindset towards things, and how you view surfboard shaping compared to your other crafts, and what are the differences and what are the similarities?
Well, I mean, making a surfboard, there's an end purpose, right? You're making a surfboard. When you're making art, it's a little different, or a lot different. So what's nice for my mind, shaping a surfboard is I know there's going to be an end. I'm working towards the end, and it's like you're extracting this thing out of this blank of foam. You're carving it out of this. You're subtracting away. And there's something like I love about it. It's really good for my mind, because I am working towards an idea, right? I'm like, I want to make this shape, and I watched all these people shape, and I practiced, and I go at it very slowly. It takes me like 5 hours, 6 hours to make a surfboard. Where
That's still pretty good.
No, man, oh my God, not compared to the guys that I've been watching. I'm like, holy shit, you just made that in 2 hours, and it's perfect. But it really is. Shaping is time behind the tool. Really, that's how you get good at it. And I've been a woodworker since I was a teenager. So I worked at a really, really high end fine woodworking shop. So I've learned a lot from those people, and I can take those skills right into the shaping bay with me. So I'm lucky that way, because I've got a little leg up on someone who's just coming in, never using tools before, or even subtracting from something, in terms of like sculpture.
Also having an eye for it.
Yeah, and I've looked at a lot, for surfboards, and I've felt a lot of surfboards, and I think that's the thing I never really took into account with surfboard shaping. Is it's almost, for me, I'm feeling with my hands as much as I'm looking. Like my hands tell me a lot, almost more than my eyes can. I don't know if that's because my eyes are getting bad or what, but like feeling, running your hand up and down the rail, both sides. And I remember Ellis Erickson, watching him shape one time, and he would stand up and put the tail of the board on the ground and hold the rails, and then just kind of like do a squat and just like feel the rails and go up and down. I mean, it was kind of erotic. But I was like, wow, what the hell is he doing? And I'm like, oh, he's just looking for the uniformity or the inconsistencies in the symmetry of what he's doing. And I've been doing that ever since. So, but what I like about it is like I remember reading a piece that Donald Judd wrote about Dan Flavin. Or maybe it was an interview between the two of them, actually. That's what I think it was. And Donald Judd said, hey, when I come into your studio, you always have these models at the, on a little table over in the corner of your studio. Like you're like, are you making like battleship models and like automobile, like little, like, I don't know what, like with tester paints and stuff, like people used to make these really intricate things. He's like, are you doing that? Is that like, what is that all about? And he goes, oh yeah, no, I have a practice of making these models because I don't want to take that like tinkery kind of like obsessiveness. I don't want that to poison my work. Right. So this is the way I get it out of my system, is by making these models. And I'm like, man, that's kind of what making the surfboards are for me in a way. It's like I'm able to like exercise this, like wanting to craft something and hone it and make it, symmetrical and try to achieve perfection, even though it's impossible. It's so rewarding, Tyler. Like I get lost in the bay. The hours will go by. I get it. Now I understand it. And I never wanted to do it when I was young because I was afraid I'd like it. I'm not kidding.
Now you do.
And now it's like, okay, now I have the facility and maybe a
now
little
you
bit
have
of
a
time.
habit.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I've got that one board for you to try. I think.
Oh man,
we'll see if it works. We'll see if it works.
Does it not work?
It doesn't not work.
Well, it's interesting. Like I feel like with the surfboard shaping and the art, like knowing when to stop is probably the hardest thing for both of them.
Oh yeah, knowing where to start and how to stop or when to stop.
Because like Jimmy O'Brien and I were talking the other day, just like how made one little thing on the left side and then you got to fix on the right, but then it's like, oh, it's not exactly, and you just keep whittling away, and it's like similar to art, right? Like it's really hard to know when to stop sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to have confidence too when you're doing it, because as soon as you start getting timid, it's when everything goes sideways.
So the question is, what was the last board you shaped? And what are you riding right now that you're enjoying most?
Well, when Christian Beamish was here, he cut an outline out on this board, and then he realized the blank had a crack in it.
Yeah.
So it's not something you can patch it, but it's not something you're going to sell somebody. So he abandoned it, and he had his plan shape, cut out. And then when we were shooting this piece for this Keen shoe that we did, Paul Gaudet, we like used him as our sort of
model.
Subject.
Yeah.
And it was like a little story about him shaping, in the bay, and then getting on a bike and riding it to the ferry with a board and going out to Rockaway and surfing from Williamsburg, which he did.
Yeah.
And that's like not like some made up thing. But we needed a board that was like shaped partly, he just needed something to shape. And I'm like, well, we could have you cut out a blank, but it'd be cooler if you were midway through the process. So let's just use the Beamish board. So he started just like with a Sureform kind of going at it and doing different things. And it was like, he was like thinking about it, but he wasn't really thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I looked at the thing like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, man, the nose is a little messed up. And not because Paul's shaping it poorly, just because we were shooting and it wasn't the intention.
Yeah.
Right? It was like we were going to toss it or turn it into a pipo or something. So
Paul, we're not saying you suck at shaping.
No, not at all. Paul's amazing, man. And Paul's incredible. And his brother, their whole scene, man, it's the best. But I just was like, oh, I have this Skip Fry thruster that's from the 80s. So I have it templated. So I took that nose and I put that on it and made it a little shorter, and then changed the outline a tiny bit, and I shaped it into a Widowmaker. It's like a 6'5". It's something that it's narrow. I mean, it's mean. It's like I'm gonna give it to George to surf, but it's kegging. Here, you go ahead, George. You paddle out on that. That was the last thing I made. And then we have some blanks coming. I'm getting excited to.
And what are you excited about riding right now?
Derek Disney made this 7-1 Midzer that we got. It was sitting on the rack for way too long. Like it was on the rack for like 6 months, and I'm like, that's one of the best boards I've seen and felt in a long time. I'm taking it when there's a swell, and it's been one of my favorite boards. It's magical. He's a great shaper. He's a really fantastic young shaper. And
When's he come?
God, I'm trying to remember when everyone's coming. Like in 2-week blocks. He's coming with Kobe Hughes, Alex Villalobos, and Tom Morat are all going to be here at the same time, staying at the house. And then there's and then Jack Coleman is going to come out possibly. So I think that's going to be super cool. And he'll film and stuff. And maybe what I want to do is like show one of his films.
Yes.
We'll have a movie night with him.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
And Jack is so cool.
He seems cool as fuck.
Yeah. He's I haven't gotten to spend much time with him, but the times that I've met him, he's just awesome. And obviously his work's great. But I'm excited. I love riding that board. And then Skip made me this nozzle, this like 8-1 longfish that just is really fun.
Ken has told me about those boards.
It is a crazy board. I mean, it's wide, and you would think it would just be this like sticky, tracky thing. It's like riding a Simmons. It's very loose and fast, and almost like you have to relearn how to surf. It's wild. It's really fun.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Well, Chris, this is the time to shamelessly plug yourself. Where can our listeners find you? Where can they find Pilgrim?
Oh man. Well, we're on. We started out on North 3rd and Wythe, but now we're around the corner, 33 Grand Street. We
Surfing Valhalla. It's beautiful.
We're very lucky. We got to take
it's a cathedral of surfing.
It's a 139-year-old. Is that right? Bank.
Yeah.
And old bank building. People should come to an event. Like that's the best way to have an experience, I think, at our shop. And then we started wholesaling our brand. Nice. Very selectively, just we're not on any of the big online retailers. We won't sell to them.
Great.
So we sell to specialty shops, some here in the States, in Europe, and we have a store in Tokyo with our great partner Beams, and we have a store in Kyoto too.
Nice.
I don't know. We're still independent and small. You know, we have our little the design and creative team here, and we have our production team based in Japan. So you know, it's a wild business. We're just keeping it independent as long as we can, and hope maybe forever. I don't know.
Well, listeners, go check out Pilgrim, that next event. Definitely with the Shaper Residency, there's going to be one, like, go check out the boards and order a board. Go meet some of these shapers, watch them shape. Like, this is like such a cool opportunity if you are into shaping or surfboards or just any of that sort of stuff. This is the time to go check it out all throughout the summer. And of course, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for Swell Season on Instagram and on all your podcast channels. And have to give a quick shout out here to Joe at the Newsstand Studio here for making us sound good, and Rockefeller Center for hosting us and being incredible hosts. And Chris, really appreciate you coming on, man. This is so much fun.
You've been my good friend for all these years, man. And I mean, you do so much for this community. Way more than you think.
Wow, thank you.
And like the fact that you come all the way out from Rockaway to sit in this room in the middle of Manhattan and interview me is that's a testament to your commitment to things, man.
It's purely self-indulgent. All right, this is total indulgence. This is not for anyone else but me. But thank you.
I know that's not true, but yeah, thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to know you and have you as a friend, buddy.
I'm getting off the clipped, listeners. We'll check you out down the line soon. We'll talk later. Partridges, neither partridges nor family discuss. Check you all later. You.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.